In this video I am gonna repot my ficus here. The good thing about ficus is that you can pretty much repot them any time of the year because they are evergreen. Especially when I just pruned it back very hardly, there's hardly any foliage left on, and that means that there's not too much for the roots to feed. That means I can easily repot it. The reasoning I'm doing it is that I don't feel like this pot is doing it any favors. I don't think it's looking good, and it should be very pot bound since it's 3 or 4 years since I last repotted it. And they tend to get very pot bound, these ficuses. Also in the ground you'll see once I start untangling the roots, they are making this. That's why these Ficus Ginsengs, when you buy them in Ikea, they have this big chunky trunk, which is actually the results. This is just old roots. They bulge out down on the ground, and that makes this phenomenon. I want to hold that back and then use this as my trunk. And I bet it's doing it right now on the ground, and that's why I want to get over it and cut it back so it doesn't keep on doing it. I just think this shallow pot will do it a lot of justice. It will look more majestic, the tree, once it gets inside this more shallow pot. So that's what I'm going to do. First of all, I'll remove these guy wires, which I've been using to keep the thick 2 branches here down. Need to remove those. On the back as well. Now for the moment of truth. Let's see what we got on here. Lots of roots. And when I take it out of this pot, I see there's actually not much space in here. The root ball is very small. And I thought this was going to be a big problem, but I can pretty easily get it into here because it's not as deep as I thought. But it's going to be interesting to see what's underneath here. I think I'll actually get a little water bottle so that I can keep the roots moist while I work upon them. And I'll be using these tools, sort of a hook and then a little rack here for removing the soil between the roots. And what we want to do is always pull away from the tree. If you do it this way, you might damage the roots. The point where there's the least chance of damaging the tree's roots is from pulling away from the tree. And then generally I prefer this one to this one, because this one, when you grab a hold of different roots, they can intertangle in the different pieces of the rack here, and in that way break. It's less prevalent when you use this one with one, because you can't get a hold of many roots at one time. Well, the chances of it are less frequent. Also, it is the first time for this tree to get in real akadama and pumice and lava stones, so it's going to be interesting to see how it responds to this. But they are always happy. It's always been growing vigorously, so I'm not nervous at all. But maybe it's going to be good for the roots to have more air in between and better drainage. I guess we'll see. 3-4 years was maybe a bit too long to wait, because I see many of the roots are spinning around down in the pot, which is an indication of the fact that the tree is very pot bound. And it's the same principle down underneath. Pull away from the middle when you're teasing the roots. And I wouldn't recommend with every species of trees to remove all the soil, but it's possible with ficuses because they are very tolerant to root seizing and any sort of work you might do to a tree. Pruning, wiring and everything. Very vigorous and fun to work with. Can also be a disadvantage because you very quickly get wire marks, you very quickly get new shoots, and the branches thicken very quickly and can get out of hand if you don't look after it all the time. So plenty of fine roots up here at the top of the tree, so no worries there. And this is just the regular Ikea ginseng you buy in Ikea. I've had it since I think 2013, so it's pretty much 10 years old now. And it's not the most prestigious species to work with, but I think it's funny. This is the tree that got me into the hobby, but I really firstly started when I think in 2019, but this is where it all began, sort of. I had this in my room and I didn't know about the fact that outdoor bonsai has a lot more options and difficulties and stuff you have to think about. For me, outdoor bonsai are more interesting, but indoor, like these ones, are definitely also cool. And I have them out all summer as well, so they can do that but they just can't take the frost. I'm removing branches. I'm removing roots that's going straight down into the ground. Don't want those. I want vertical branches as much as possible. And it's the same principle as a branch cut in front of a small root, then you'll have better chances of the roots healing correctly. Maybe I'll take this big one. I think I'll take this big root off because it's going round and not out away from the trunk. Maybe right here, because I have a little root going out here. I think that's the spot. This one is growing underneath, but I'm a little scared to remove much more root from the root ball. But I am tempted. This one also goes straight down. I think that is it for teasing this tree and cutting back the roots. Now it's time to prepare the pot. Now I'm gonna prepare the pot, which I'm gonna apply some wire to the pot. I like to use the old wire so I can tie down the tree to the pot so it doesn't move. Movement to the tree and to the roots can damage them. Again, it's not so frequently seen when you're working with ficus. They tend to be able to withstand very bad treatment, but I do it anyway just to get better at it and also to be sure. And I like to use old wires so I don't use new ones. Yeah, just because I feel like it's kind of a waste, but of course it's not, because you want to try to save a tree. I have plenty of old wires, so there's lots to use. and I don't have any mesh, so I'm using stones until I actually buy some, so that the soil doesn't run out of the pot. There we go. That is as good as that's gonna be. And the soil I'm using is 1/3 of pumice, 1/3 of volcanic soil, and 1/3 akadama. So you want to start by making sort of a little pile in the middle. Then I'm gonna take the tree, spread out these roots that I want to try to turn into vertical ones, like this. You sort of want to massage it down. When you do this, the soil will be forced up between the roots, which you want so you don't have any air pockets. But afterwards we'll also be using a knitting stick to force the soil in between the roots. For now it's going to be very loose, and afterwards, when I've applied the soil in between the roots, I'll tighten it a bit more to make it stay in the pot where I want it for certain. And here it's quite important that you take your time to get the soil in between the roots so you don't have any air pocket. I want to try a little new technique here. I want to try to move this root in a direction I prefer better and stick this in between and see if it can hold it in the right direction. Seems like it's holding okay down here. I'm excited to see if this root will survive. I don't know. I don't have any good way of holding it down, I feel like. The last thing I want to do is I want to tighten the wire holding it to the pot a bit more. So I'm going to cut these off. This has been it for this video. I hope you enjoyed watching. A like and subscribe would really help me a lot on my YouTube channel here. Thanks.